Have you ever felt like your workplace was this perfectly designed machine? Or maybe a complete chaotic mess? Well, in this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain and look at the actual blueprint behind how companies get built. And you're about to see it is rarely an accident.
So, let's start with a puzzle. Think about it. Have you ever worked somewhere that had a rule for absolutely everything? Or maybe you've been in a place that felt more like a creative free-for-all. I mean, that's a huge difference, right? So, what's really going on behind the scenes?
Well, here's the secret. That structure isn't random. Not at all. It's a deliberate choice. In fact, it's one of the single most important decisions a company's leaders will ever make. It's the blueprint for how literally everything gets done.
Okay, so let's start piecing this whole organizational puzzle together.
So what even is an organization when you strip it all back? Well, it's basically a group of people, right? But they're deliberately structured and connected to the outside world, all pointed towards a common goal. Honestly, the best way to think about it is like a custom-built tool engineered for one very specific job. And if you want to understand how these tools get built, you've got to know this one fundamental rule. It governs pretty much everything. Seriously, it's the key that unlocks this entire concept. And that golden rule is this: structure follows strategy. Let that sink in. A company first decides how it's going to compete in the market. That's its strategy. Only then does it build the organization, the structure, that's perfectly shaped to pull off that plan. The plan always comes first, the blueprint second. Always. Now, when we say structure, it's really easy to just picture an org chart on the wall, right? But it's so much more than that. It's the entire formal system. Who reports to whom, how we're all grouped into teams, and all the official channels that control and coordinate everything we do. All right, so let's dig into the first part of that rule, strategy. How does a company actually come up with its game plan? Well, according to the legendary business strategist Michael Porter, there are really two classic ways to go. You can choose to win by being the absolute cheapest. That's the low-cost leader. Think Walmart. Or you can win by being completely unique and innovative, which lets you charge a premium price. And the perfect example there, of course, it's Apple.
Okay, so once that big strategic choice is made, the organization has to be built to support it. And this is where you really get to see how strategy and structure are just completely locked together. It's fascinating.
I mean, just look at the difference here. If your goal is low cost, you need maximum efficiency, right? That means centralizing authority. All the big decisions happen at the top. You have a lot of rules, standardized procedures, and you're controlling every single penny. But if your goal is innovation, you need the total opposite. You decentralize authority, you empower people to make decisions, you have fewer rules, way more flexibility, and you encourage a ton of cross-functional teamwork.
So what this all means is that a company like Walmart is intentionally designed to be a rigid, well-oiled machine. It has to be. That structure is what delivers on its low-price promise. And Apple, it's intentionally designed to be a flexible, creative studio because that's the only kind of structure that can deliver on its innovation strategy. Their structures are total opposites because their goals are total opposites. It's that simple. But strategy isn't the only piece of the puzzle. No company exists in a vacuum, right? The outside world, the business environment, that adds another really critical layer to this whole design question. So an organization has to look at its environment on two key scales. First, is it simple or is it complex? In other words, are there just a few things to worry about or a whole lot? And second, is it stable or unstable? Does the world around you change slowly or is it changing all the time? So a soft drink bottler, for example, lives in a pretty simple, stable world, low uncertainty. But an e-commerce company, whoa, that's a complex, unstable world with a massive amount of uncertainty.
And this is absolutely critical, because that rigid, machine-like structure that works perfectly for the soft drink bottler, it would completely, spectacularly fail in the chaotic world of e-commerce. The rule is simple. The more uncertainty you face from the outside world, the more flexible and adaptive your internal structure has to be just to survive.
So when you put it all together, what do you get? Well, designing an organization is all about making smart trade-offs. It's about finding that sweet spot, that perfect fit between your strategy, your structure, and the world you're operating in. Let's take a classic trade-off, for example. How you group your people. You could go with a functional structure. All the marketers in one department, all the engineers in another. The pro is you get deep expertise and it's super efficient within those teams. The con? It can be painfully slow to respond to change and you get those dreaded silos. Or you could use a divisional structure. organized by product. That's way faster and more responsive, but you end up duplicating resources and you might lose some of that deep technical skill. See? You can't have it all.
And this brings us to what might be the single most important takeaway from all of this. There is no one-size-fits-all perfect way to organize. It just doesn't exist. The best design is always a balancing act. It's a series of deliberate, conscious choices that create this powerful alignment between a company's strategy, its structure, and the environment it has to compete in.
So I'll leave you with a final thought, a question to take with you. The next time you're at work, look around at the invisible structures, the rules, the reporting lines, the way your teams are set up, and ask yourself, is the way we're designed actually helping us win? Or could it be the very thing that's holding us back?